Hello, my name is Julie and I am here to give you my last haul before the holidays. So I have managed to acquire a good amount of books between receiving them and gifting them to myself before Christmas, so I thought that I would get these out of the way before I would have too much of a haul with what I get over the holidays, because I do expect that between end of year sales and Christmas I will be getting quite a bit. And if you see that this shelf is pretty empty, it's because this was all of the books that I've got this year, so this has decreased by half and I've already hauled these ones. So I have audiobooks, a couple of ebooks, and then I have a ton of physical books, some of which were sent to me and some of which I bought myself, including an unboxing from Book of the Month, which I can't wait to open. I have had this for a hot second and now I get to open with you. And I also have a couple at a different house, so I will be showing you those as well. So the first category, I'm going to be talking about the books that were sent to me. Some of these you can also get sent as well, so I want to get you in on that. Most notably, if you are not already a part of Tor's Book of the Month Club, you need to get on this if you are a fantasy and sci-fi reader, if you like anything that Tor publishes. Basically, just for signing up for their newsletter, every month you get a free ebook. It is usually of one of their more popular titles. In the last few months, I managed to get The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson and The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. These are two of the books in Mistborn Era 2. I am hoping to start Mistborn Era 2 next year, so I am so excited to start. And I've been really into industrial fantasy with a little bit more technology in it, guns, that sort of thing. So I'm really excited to pick this up because we all know Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorites. And they also had The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Mi Vo. So there's an empress and there's somebody named Rabbit who is a handmaiden who becomes friends with her, and it's feminist, a commentary on monarchy and that sort of thing. And I really liked Nevo's writing style, even if I wasn't a super fan of the plot of a book that I read from her before. I'm hoping to really love this, and I think I'm gonna hold off and read it for a readathon because I know it's super short. Then I have two physical books that were sent to me by the publisher, and both of these are from Candlewick Press. So the first one is The Mermaid, the Witch in the Sea by Maggie Takuta Hall. So we have a trans main character who is a pirate named Florian and has done whatever he needs to do to survive, and Lady Evelyn comes on his boat with what is supposed to be her own casket. So there's a little bit of a romance in here. It's fantasy, we're on a boat. I love piratey things in fantasy, so I'm really excited to read this. Love any queer books that I can promote as much as I can. Also, I just really love this color palette a lot. This green does a lot for me. And then we have The Heartbreak Bakery by A.R. Capetta. I actually had a little giveaway for this because I accidentally received 2 copies. And this advanced copy actually came with some recipes. So this is about our main character Sid, who does not use any pronouns, is non-binary. So Sid goes through a bad breakup and works at this bakery, makes a batch of cookies or brownies, I believe, and then anybody who eats what Sid made breaks up, including the owners of the bakery, and queer breakups just happen throughout town. And then Sid gets a crush on someone who delivers stuff for the bakery, and I think this is going to be super cute rom-com. I love baking, it's one of my main hobbies, so I'm excited to read this. So again, thank you so much to Candlewick Press for sending me these and future titles. Love your stuff. And then there were a couple of books that people got me. My dad went to one of our favorite used bookstores and found this copy of Lolita that I've been looking for a while. It was with their banned book section during Banned Books Week. This is a modern classic about Humbert, who is in love with this young girl who he calls Lolita, and he sexually exploits her and in several other ways takes advantage of a lot of people to be close to this girl. He's a terrible person, and by being in his mind, you kind of get into the insane mindset that he has because he completely reasons everything away as him being in love with her. So this will be a really difficult read, but it is a modern classic that I've been wanting to tackle for a while. And then for an early Christmas present, my dear friend Sean, who is the person I have been reading The Wheel of Time with, even though he's already finished It's Fine, ended up getting me The Shadow Rising as I finished The Dragon Reborn. This is one of the longest books in the series, and now that people are starting to pick up, all of the characters are starting to get a handle on their sort of magical powers, and we're learning more about the world and the pattern and all the different cultures. Rand has, against his will, taken the mantle of the Dragon Reborn. I'm super excited, and I am very excited for Bestie Matt to just steal the show in this one. Then on to the books that I bought myself. I am going to start with the audiobooks that I picked out, so all of these are through Audible. I bought 5 audiobooks recently, and I have listened to them all at this point, and 3 of them were total winners. First off, I listened to Where Futures End. This is a sci-fi dystopian where we have 5 different teenagers over the course of hundreds of years that are at different levels of this dystopia, where this one event happened in the modern day that completely changed the course of human life. And it is one of the most unique books that I have read in a long time, especially for a YA sci-fi. And this audiobook had me by the throat, how much I was engrossed in the different stories, because it is almost like 5 short stories, but they are all connected and do line up to tell one story about what happened because of this. So underrated, criminally underrated. So if this is something you can get your hands on, absolutely do. And then I picked up Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This is a horror book about a main character, Maddie, who is taken against her will to be in this cabin on top of a mountain with this man who has married her and wants her to make him lots of sons, and it's all very gross, and she is terribly abused and confused and doesn't really have a lot of sense of self because of this, as everything has been taken away from her. And one day, the two of them find tracks that just don't make any sense for a normal animal to have made. And this horror was really cool. I did really like the narrator. The stakes were very high and bad things actually happened. I thought that was great, but I could have done with a little bit more resolution in either the supernatural plot or the flashback plot. Then I read Make It Sweet, which is one of my favorite romance books of the year. Our female main character is an actress who just got killed off of a Game of Thrones-like show, so now she doesn't have a job and she's really stressed out about that. And then our other main character is an ex-NHL player, and because he took too many hits, he can't play anymore, and that's really got him down, and so he's working at his grandmother's sort of estate. Our female main character, her grandmother invites her to come over to this estate, so the grandparents are setting them up. This is a romance that doesn't have a whole lot of plot outside of the romance itself, but for once that did not bother me one bit. I loved the dynamic of these two characters. I absolutely love that we have an NHL player who also loves to bake. I thought the spicy scenes were fantastic, and the audio narration, perfect. I really want to read more from this author now. The third act conflict was one of the best I have read. There is not a third act breakup, which is fantastic, but it's actually a really realistic thing that would happen, and I really enjoyed it and really want to re-listen to this. Then I listened to Only Human by Sylvain Neuvel. This is the 3rd book in the Themis Files trilogy, and this is a story about a giant robot being found on Earth. It's told through interview style, so all of it is dialogue. And let me tell you, this series should only be listened to. I read the first 2 books physically and didn't have as much of a good time, but in this one, the actors really brought these characters to life, particularly my favorite character, Vincent. So if you're looking for a sci-fi action, especially a First Contact series, this is something that I would definitely recommend, but do it on audio if you can. And then I listened to The Queen of Cursed Things by S.M. Gaither. I listened to this kind of on a whim. I just was scrolling through the fantasy titles and picked something that had an interesting cover and synopsis, and I liked the narration. So this was just me trying out something entirely random. So this is I thought it was a new adult, but I guess it is a YA fantasy. There's like these 15 gods, and some people are marked by these gods based on their ancestry. And there was the Snake Clan, and everyone thought they were evil, and they've been hunted down. And it turns out our main character is one of the Snake Clan and has hidden that her entire life in this sleepy little town. And then she gets found out and taken to the capital where the evil Rook Clan is lording themselves around, and she gets mixed up with the prince of the Rook Clan, who is trying to take down his father, who is evil, and killing his mother. There's a lot going on here, but I think what you really need to take away is this is very basic enemies to lovers, insta lust almost, but I don't trust you, but with cutie marks. I read the synopsis of this book and I didn't click until I was listening to it. This is cutie marks from My Little Pony. The battle rising up stuff, that vibe is something that I usually get along with pretty well. And I liked that the prince is like doing this for his mom, who is like essentially getting super poisoned, but the romance did not do it for me. And I think that's a lot of the pull of this series because it's supposed to be a fantasy romance. And I just kind of wasn't engaged in wanting to pick up this audiobook as much. So meh. The first books that I bought for myself, I picked up when I was still at my job over the summer. I think I picked up 5 books at Books A Million, and one of them was The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This is the 3rd book in the Wheel of Time. I am now on to the 4th book. I really enjoyed this one. I had a really great reading experience, and I did listen to the audiobook for some of this. Rand in this book, so interesting. The character development, fantastic. Read my review. So loved it. And there are 4 other books that I bought. Location change. I picked up The Last Wish. This is the first installment in the Witcher series. I watched the first season of the TV show and absolutely loved it. I wish it wasn't so short. But this is a collection of shorter stories about Geralt. That made me super nervous to start the series because I don't tend to love shorter stories, but it may be a nice way to dip in. And since I love the show so much, I feel like I will have an easier time getting into this than if I went in without watching the show. I am sad that I picked up this edition right before the beautiful new hardcovers came out. But you know what? If I really love the series, I will pick up those copies. Then I found Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. This is a literary, slightly dystopian. This is about a family who goes to an Airbnb type place. The family who owns the Airbnb comes back and they have to share the place because it seems like the world is ending. So it's a book that takes place during the apocalypse where it actively tries to ignore the fact that the apocalypse is happening, which is something that is so interesting to me. This is going to appear in a future vlog, so excited for this. Then I found one of my favorite books ever for a major discount, and that is Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. You might know her from Delilah Green Doesn't Care, but before she wrote adult romance, she wrote some YA, and this is one of my favorite hard-hitting YA about a girl whose twin brother ends up raping one of their mutual friends, and it's the story of that fallout. And this book made me cry so hard. It is one of my most recommended books. I'm just so happy to actually own this now. And the last book from this specific Books A Million trip is the one that everyone would be excited for, and that is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I had just read People We Meet on Vacation when I saw this. This takes place in small town North Carolina, which is where I live. So on top of this being small town and about people who love books and being a romance author that I do trust, it takes place where I live. We had to do it. She's a literary agent, he's a big time editor. They have met many times and it's not gone very well, and they both end up being sent out on the same assignment to small town North Carolina. I have a feeling that of her books, this is going to be my favorite, even though Happy Place has been getting amazing reviews. I can't wait to read that one, and I'm hoping to get Beach Read for Christmas. Back to the other location. I was at a Walmart and I was waiting for customer service, and I was waiting for so long that I found the book section and found Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston for pretty cheap, so I had to pick this up. I read One Last Stop last year and I really enjoyed it, and my friend Katie is a big Casey McQuiston fan, so I thought I would finally pick this up. This is about what if the first son of the United States and the heir to the British monarchy fell in love, and there's like a little scandal of them getting together, and all I know is that they're just supposed to be the best, and I really do trust Casey McQuiston when it comes to a fun contemporary romance. I think she writes modern 20-somethings very well, and her writing is just super comedic, so I think I'm gonna have a fun time with this, and I hope to read this before the TV show? I think it's a movie, before the movie comes out. Then I picked up Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. Me and my friend Katie have buddy read the first and the second book in this trilogy, and hopefully we'll be able to read the third one next year. This is about our main character, Fitz, who is the bastard of the heir to the throne, and then when it comes out that he exists, his dad abdicates and he is dropped off at the palace gates and essentially raised to be the king's assassin. And he's doing a lot of secret stuff behind the scenes. The first book is a lot of skipping through his childhood and teenage years, but in this book we're finally grounded in a timeline with a specific conflict that's going on, and I really enjoyed this. The magic system gets a lot of expansion in this book, and the ending, y'all weren't kidding when you said Robin Hobb doesn't pull any punches, and I think that this third book could definitely be like a total favorite. And I can't wait for all of the other trilogies that come after this. I think the only book that I actually put on pre-order this year was The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. So my favorite book that I've read this year is by Ashley Winstead, and I was so obsessed with it when I read it that I absolutely had to get this. And if you pre-ordered the book through her local bookstore, they shipped wherever, you could get it signed and personalized, and I did. She wrote a little note to me. I was asking about, you know, what would you say to someone who's about to graduate college and enter the workforce and everything, as she has talked about her books about being in academia. This meant so much to me when I got it, and thank you so much, Ashley. I love you. So this is about our main character, Shay, who a long time ago was sort of involved in this really dark group cult type thing, and she just managed to get out of it. But now her friend, who was also involved in that, has turned up dead, and Shay decides to go to a podcast host with her, try to figure out what happened to her friend that died. I know that this is super dark. I kind of wanted to pick this for my book club, but I know that this has some triggering content in it, and I am so excited for this to get even more thrillery than In My Dreams I Hold a Knife did. I really like the mystery of that, but I think she has so much potential in this area, and I cannot wait to gush about this book. And lastly, we have the 4 book of the month books that I collected over the last couple months. So the first one that I got is At the Other House. We're back in this location, except it's dark out. So the first book of the month book that I got was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This has been like considered the best novel of the year by Goodreads and by Book of the Month. And as soon as I knew about this book months ago, I knew this would be something I wanted to get my hands on. John Green has loved it. I've loved this author before. This is a setup that I usually really like, where it is the story of a friendship over 30 years. These two people in college created this video game that became super popular, and then this is the story of their lives from then on out. And I know this is going to be really deep with characters and going to really pull on my heartstrings from what I've read from this author before, so I am so excited to read this, and I might try to squeeze this into the end of the year. I think this is like, could be a 5-star, so I kind of want to end the year with a bang. And the next one I picked up was Yerba Buena. Nina LaCour has written some hard-hitting YA books that I've really loved. I've read 2 of them and given them each 4 or 5 stars, and this is her adult debut. And this is about 2 women who are in very different parts of their life, and them meeting each other and immediately having some sort of really magnetic connection. And I don't really know much more than that. Her synopses are usually really vague. Um, and I'm really excited. I know that this is really slow paced and the chapters are super long, but I think that this is going to be a really deep delve into character like her books normally are. Also, I really love this cover. I think any cover that's green is immediately a plus for me, but something about this style really screams something at me. And lastly, I get to open my book of the month box with you guys. So I have 2 books that I picked out here. God, where's the thingy? Maybe I'm stupid, you know? Let's see if I can actually get this open. I really don't want to mess up my brand new Christmas manicure. That was like a treat to myself. Okay, what did I get? Hey! So the first book that I got was The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. So this is one of the top horror books of the year. I know this is like a slower mystery, supernatural type horror. It's supposed to be inspired by Rebecca, and our main character, her sister just got married, and her sister is starting to be afraid for her safety, so our main character ends up joining her and her husband in this hacienda. There's a chance I might read this before the end of the year to fill out my bingo, but I love this cover. I've heard nothing but rave reviews, and because I loved Rebecca, I think that this is something that I will love as well. And a book that I have been waiting to haul for a long time is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. What's my bookmark? Welcome to the friend zone. In a good way. I am officially a friend of Book of the Month because I've gotten enough books. So maybe they should sponsor my channel. Chloe Gong was put on my radar because I saw a TikTok of hers that was pitching a book that has not come out yet. I was like, that sounds so good that I should look into her other stuff. This takes place in Shanghai in the 1920s, and it is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. It's duology, so it's like an enemies to lovers to enemies again, sort of back and forth type thing, and there's more stuff in this universe now that Foul Lady Fortune came out. Jade City, She Who Became the Sun, Iron Widow, all of those were huge wins for me this year. A setting and a lot of those tropes and everything that are inspired by history of East Asia in that area has really been working for me, and who doesn't love a good Shakespeare retelling? The last book that I have to talk about is one that I found at the thrift store, and that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. So this is another modern classic. The movie is also a modern classic about a man who gets put into a insane asylum, even though he's not crazy. And then as he is there, he's slowly getting crazier and he can't get out. Obviously, I know that the terms in here will not be very modern about how we understand mental illness, but I think that this will be a modern classic that I would really like, and the movie is something that I've been wanting to watch for a while. I was very happy to be able to get a copy that I wanted for only like 50 cents. So those are all the books that I hauled over the last couple of months, and now I'm about to get a ton more. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you would like to find me anywhere, my link is in the description, as well as a link to get your first Book of the Month box for only $5. Normally, these pristine hardcovers are $15 a pop, but you can get your first box for only $5, and it's such a deal, and I do use this service myself. You don't have to get a book of a month if you don't like the books, which is something I didn't know before I got the service. But anyways, again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.